All right, so yeah, simple stuff. Actually, this is more. It's somewhat more fundamental. Like, so many times Sri has said things to me like, "I'm sure you already," just like he did back there. "I'm sure you already know this," but then he goes into something that I'm like,
No, I didn't.
"Yeah, I totally knew that.
What?
Everybody knows that, right?" So I mean, yeah, he just has the depth and breadth of his knowledge as far as all that stuff is just mind-boggling. So I wanted to talk to you about how to make a website, and this is all the theoretical stuff to actually attract people, and more importantly, not lose people. So first, and I should have studied these slides, but it's me. So I didn't. All right. So style, right? So this is what my old website had. It had some style. It looked pretty good, I thought. And then I realized when people were trying to book with me, they were having to call me, and I was having to answer every single one. I mean, and it's fine, answer all the calls, make sure that my paper schedule is all set up right, and then make sure I haven't forgotten anything. And then I have to reference that several times a day to make sure that I'm on schedule for everything else. And and then when I was thinking about renting out gear, then it's like, okay, how do I do this? Do I have a different schedule booked for every piece of equipment? And it just got, it got overwhelming, especially when I got, several other videographers and photographers working with me. It's like, okay, who's available what days? And I found myself like writing these columns of availability for each person on every day, and it just got too complicated. So, when it wasn't me anymore, when it wasn't just me anymore, all that stuff, I was like, okay, should I hire somebody else to do that? And if the money's there, I guess. But I mean, if there's a better way, and there's always a better way. So style that's one thing. It's the thing we all think about as photographers, or videographers or whatever you guys do, primarily. Your number one goal is creating something that looks nice, but that's just so it's far secondary to the functionality of your website. So if you have a website that just looks nice and doesn't do anything, then basically it's just the same thing as setting a book down in front of someone and saying, here's my work, call me if you're interested, and you might have your phone number on there or something like that. So part of my whole thing with the Doxica website was like, how do we streamline this whole process so that I'm taking 1/5 the calls that I was taking before? Only for the really complicated stuff. Because so many things are just like, they want a headshot, they want it at this time, and that's basically it. So now we've built in, like Sri was saying, a Google Calendar, where people can go in, they choose their service. We've got this really nicely streamlined website where it's like, it says, what service are you looking for, basically. Drop down menu, you click your service, and then it's got like sub-services in there. So let's say we're doing like an event. Photography is the service you want. What type of photography? Do you want like product photography? Do you want event photography? Do you want so that you can go in and choose event, and then under the event category, is it a birthday? Is it a wedding? Is it a bar mitzvah? Things like that, and then they can choose that, and then it shows them all the how many hours do you want? And so instead of all that information being on a whole bunch of different pages, with all the necessary content or information that goes with those, like how long is this package, what does it include, how many photographers, how what kind of product am I going to receive, how how long is it going to take me to get that product back. It's got just info buttons right there, and it's just it's incredibly streamlined, and it's been amazing because people know, if they call me with a question, I just direct them to the website. I'm like, everything you could possibly want to know is on the website. Call me if you have any further questions. And generally, I don't get a call again after that. I just see, a notification in my email box that says, you have an appointment, basically. And it puts it in there for me. It gives me a buffer of time at the beginning and at the end, so for a setup and teardown, and it gives me a notification before I need to be there. So even if I don't know about it beforehand, even if I didn't open that email, I'll be there, and I'm going to be ready. So that's a really nice thing. And then another thing that we're trying to do, actually, it's been amazing for my experience with my interaction with my customers is when they have a shoot, it automatically gives them a folder in their account. So then we actually do the shoot. I upload small, like watermarked images into that folder, and then they can go in, they can choose the pictures that they like the best. Because probably, I mean, what I started out doing and did it for the longest time, I would try to decide which pictures were the best. And then inevitably, almost every time I had people coming back and saying, well, weren't there others that, you know, like, can I see what else there is? And then, so I go from like taking the pictures, uploading, you know, finalized edited images that took me a long time to going back, doing Lightroom edits on every picture, uploading every single thing, and so basically now I don't choose for them anymore. They choose for themselves, and if they, in this way too, with the website as it is, they can actually choose, like if a package includes, I don't know, if it's like a family portrait session, it includes 12 images for a 1 hour session. If they like 17 images, they can keep going. And then it just tells them, you know, it's like, it's got a little dialog box that pops up when they pick their 13th, it says, you know, you've chosen 12 images, 12 come with this package, 4 additional images, you know, you'll be charged a certain amount. And then for any of their like high level edits, braces removal, like if there's, I don't know, object removal in the background, things like that, there are charges for those things too. So that I know, like, if I'm gonna be spending massive amounts of time on a shoot that I only got paid, you know, $225 for, it's not gonna be a waste of my editing time, you know, because there have been times when I've edited for days on a shoot that was an hour long, and it's just as, I mean, so now if they want that, they can have it and they can pay for it. So makes it really easy. So yeah, so there's that. And I should have talked about that later because I have a note for something kind of like that later. So yeah, as Sri was talking about, I thought he was going to go last. So a lot of this stuff is already covered. SEO is really important, and I mean, basically the reason for that, when we talk about, there are two kinds of, I'll tell you that later. All right, this is one of the best things that I've learned in the last year and a half, okay? The 80-20 rule. Has anybody read the book, The 80-20 Rule? Okay, well it's phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it talks about basically how many different, well, I mean, like, I can't remember exactly what it talks about, as far as like different examples of the 80-20 rule, but they are everywhere. Like 20% of the English language is used 80% of the time. 20% of your carpet gets 80% of the wear. 20% of, you know, all these different things. And so, and in the same way, it's estimated that 20% of what you do in business brings in 80% of your clients, or actually has 80% of the value. And so one of the biggest things that you can do to boost your business is stop doing, locate and eliminate that other 80% of your stuff that you do. So eliminate. Okay, this is time management 101 as far as business goes. What are you doing right now that has either no value or very little value for the time that it takes you? And I mean, like, I see some wheels turning out there. But like, for me, it was pretty easy to pick out like a few of the things that I'm like, oh yeah, I've been totally busting hump on these 5 things, and none of them are going anywhere. It's just an uphill battle all the way. So I kind of, now I sort of reassess every couple weeks now. It's just like, you know, so what things over the last couple weeks have I done that just have contributed essentially nothing to, you know, what I'm trying to accomplish. And it's been a really good practice. It makes it so, I mean, I take a day off now, right? And I get like a lot more actual stuff done, you know, I mean, like, and so anyway, so eliminate what you can. And then this is all about, okay, so automation. After you've eliminated the stuff that you just don't need at all, the next best thing you can do is make a computer do it. Computers work for you for free. Websites work for you for free. You know, I mean, essentially free. If you hire a person to do, you know, the jobs that websites and apps can do for you, I mean, you're gonna be paying, you know, $30,000 a year rather than a couple $100 a year, depending on what it is. So automate as much as you can, make the process easier on yourself, give yourself the least, you know, give yourself the least amount to actually do. And the smoother, like when you first start that, I'm telling you, oh my gosh, the first version of the website, holy kinks everywhere. I mean, so, and as we've gotten those kinks kind of ironed out, it's become more and more like enjoyable. I get to do photography now rather than doing, you know, sinking all my time into stuff that computers can do far faster, far better. And lastly, delegate. So when you start to, if you want to do something big, this is, well, shoot, I have another slide in here. Man, I put this stuff in the wrong order. Anyway, I realized that for me here, I could not do what I needed to do. I mean, I was working all the time. I was saying no to family events and saying no to friends would ask me to go hiking or play basketball, and I'm like, I can't, I have to work, I can't, I have to work. And like, I can't, I have to work became like my 20% of the English language that I used 80% of the time. You know, it was like, it was a crazy, like it was a bad cycle, and it started making me feel like I was really unsuccessful because I was working so much and producing so little. And so I eventually was thinking like, okay, I've got to get some help with this stuff because there's stuff that okay, so Tim Ferriss is kind of one of my heroes. He lives an awesome life. Anybody heard of him?
Clark.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
so he does so much stuff. He does so much stuff. He actually wrote the book The 4-Hour Workweek also, and he's probably the first one I heard, you know, this kind of the eliminate, automate, delegate thing from. But now he just does, he has his own TV show where he just tries stuff. It's I don't know, it's super cool. So he gets to have all these awesome experiences and just, you know, gets paid for it. It's pretty amazing. Where was I going with that?
How did he do that?
Was that?
How did he do that?
Well, yeah, so he followed his own rules. Basically, he, in his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, it's a great read. I mean, I highly recommend it for anyone. He talks so much about delegating, about outsourcing, and he comes off pretty cold at the beginning of the book because he talked about like, he basically says like, how far can I push this outsourcing thing? Oh, this is what I was thinking about him. He says that everybody has what he calls their superpower. It's like, what's that one thing that you can do that nobody else on your team can do, or nobody else that you know, or maybe nobody else in the world can do? That's your superpower. Do that. You know, stop working on your weaknesses, because that's what we tend to do. Well, okay, so I've got, I mean, like my weakness, building websites. That's why I'm at Sri, you know, because like I have no clue about that stuff. And if I learn it, that just adds another how many hours of work to my week, you know, and like how much less photography can I do and videography can I do if I'm actually trying to learn how to build a website as well. So when you start in business, when you start selling your services, you've got a few things that you can use to kind of leverage, you know, your business growth. You've got your time, and that's what I was using all of. I didn't have money to put into it. I didn't have really anything else to put into it. So I was putting just tons of time. So you can use your currency. You can throw money at it, and that, as I've found, the further I get, when I start making more per hour, I start realizing, okay, a lot of these jobs aren't worth the time, you know, aren't worth my superpower time, basically, you know. So, you know, who can I hire? Can I hire someone to, I mean, like I don't know how much time when I first got the studio sweeping the floors. I swept the floors. It seems like I spent 4 or 5 hours just on like keeping stuff kind of up around here. And it's like, who can I have do that, where I can pay them something they'll be totally happy to work for, and like, and then I can free up that time to do editing, photography, marketing, whatever, the things that I really needed to do. And as I go, I want to keep honing, in closer and closer on that one thing that I feel is my superpower. And so, as I do that, as you get closer and closer to that, your time gets worth more and more, because now you're spending less and less time sweeping the floors, rearranging the, stuff for class or for a shoot or for whatever, and you spend more time actually doing kind of what you were put here to do. So, yeah, delegate as much as you can, as soon as you can. Really figure out those things. If you can afford a maid right now, and that will save, and that will, like, if you can pay a maid $15 an hour, and you can do something where you make $40 or $50 an hour, hire a maid. I mean, it shouldn't even be a question, because that frees up time. I mean, if your time is worth $40 an hour, anything that costs less than that, let it go. Let somebody else do it. Give them a job. So, all right.
What's his last name again? Tim?
Ferriss, Ferris. And I think it's his website is the timferrissproject.com. Or no, that might be his website, or that might be his TV show. Anyway, Google the Tim Ferriss Project or Google Tim Ferriss, and you'll find it's boatloads of like amazing information. So, okay. The other thing that you can bring to the table when you start building a company is your network. So a lot of what I have been able to build here has just been because I met the right people. Now, the right people are out there, and you may not know them right now, but you can find them. Anybody can find them, and then you just have to worm your way into their life, make them love you. But I mean, like, really, when it comes down to it, if you can provide some kind of value for someone that you want to team up with, you better believe they're going to team up with you back. And so for me, at the beginning, that was, who has the, I was super equipment centric, I guess. That was like my main focus, having the right gear. And so I was like, okay, who has the right gear, and what can I offer them in exchange for being able to just use that gear sometimes? And I offer people the same thing now that I have, some of the gear that people need to do, do the videos that they want to do, or take the pictures that they want to take, or whatever. I do trades like that with people, and I try to help people kind of come up in the ranks the same way. So that's the other thing. So you got your time, you got your capital, and you've got your network. And you can actually introduce the right people to the other right people. And by building those connections, people just oddly feel like they kind of owe you, And I mean, you may not even say, all right, but you owe me. But they have this sense of like, oh, you did something great for me, I just want to do something back for you. So bringing your network to the table can be of huge value, and it can really take you some amazing places really quickly. So, all right, this is my saying. Actually, I kind of accidentally said this at the show of the documentary in Cortez. I was talking to the students there, and I just sort of accidentally said, big dreams require big teams. And that was something that hit me. I mean, it didn't, not in those words. When I said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta write that down. That's super good. That's like the perfect way to say that. Yeah, but for a long time, it's been like, I can't do this alone. I've got this huge goal that I want to accomplish, and there's no way that if I try it by myself, I might finish in 40 years, So I was like, what do I start doing? And I started building my network, started building my team right then. Who do I know who's great with a camera? Who do I know who can conceptualize stuff? I'm a terrible, this is going to be ironic when I finally think of this word, dialogue writer. See? Ironic, right? So I'm a terrible dialogue writer. So I was like, who do I know who knows how to write dialogue? Things like that. So like, It was basically like, what are the holes in my plan? What are the things that I don't know how to do, and who can I find who has a similar vision and passionate about the same kind of things, and that I can team up with, and there was just an abundance of people who wanted to be, have me in their projects and be in mine, and it was great. So, it's good to be nice to people too when you try to do that. So I found that out the hard way. Just kidding. I started out threatening people. If you don't work with me, I know where you live, kind of thing. Anyway, that didn't work out. No. Okay, so when it comes to getting hired, the number one thing, well, I don't even want to say the number one thing, a really big thing is, and actually anybody who comes to the photography class knows how often I say stuff like lighting, the number one, the most important thing, or like sound, it's the most important thing in film, or writing a good script is the most important thing in film, and I mean all of them, because any one of them, without it, you can't, any one of them can make or break you. Actually, not one of them can make you, but any one of them can break you. So
Write that down.
no, well, that's pretty basic, I think. I mean, maybe it's not.
No.
I will remember. Well, I'm recording. I'll watch it back. I'll write it down then. Okay, so finding a niche or niche, however you want to say it, is really important, because so many photographers just take pictures. And they take pictures. It was like you said to me that one day. If you're going to take pictures of the maroon bells, there better be a unicorn and
a rainbow.
And a rainbow.
Otherwise, you're just not going to stand out.
Yeah.
There's millions of pictures of the rainbows.
So the big trick here, as photographers, is like, how do we actually stand out? How do we find something that hasn't been photographed a bazillion times? Like, I was really proud of a picture that I took of the moon one time, and then, yeah, that's exactly how I feel now. But then I was like, oh, look what I've done. And now I just look back and I'm like, man, I was taking pictures of something that's been photographed possibly more than anything else on, ever in the history of mankind.
Trees and clouds.
Yeah, exactly. Time lapses of trees and clouds, oh my, everywhere. It's crazy. So finding something that can't be found everywhere is absolutely your key to finding clients. When you can do that, whether you are, let's say you're shooting weddings, and the only kind of weddings that you shoot are where somebody's on fire. Now, this is a terrible example, but I mean, if there was, yeah, exactly. Oh, we want that fire guy. But I'm saying, if there's someone who just wants to be on fire in their wedding photos, they can't go anywhere else. They gotta come to you, Whether, it might be doing all your wedding photography on a rooftop, or bunch of different rooftops, or I don't know. And I'm just throwing out stupid ideas here, but if it's all bird's eye view photography, I don't even know. There are all kinds of different things that you could do, and once you hone in on what's my one thing that nobody else is doing. I saw somebody recently who did. They were doing movie posters of wedding photos, so it would be Lord of the Rings, and they would Photoshop a Lord of the Rings movie poster with the bride and groom, and it's amazing, and people flocked to that. It was an overnight success for this photographer. So, and especially with social media, how it is, if you've got viral content, you better start expecting calls from all around the planet, most likely, and get ready to fly a lot. So. So a lot of the time, what we try to do, we try to offer everything. And I told you at the beginning, I have broken one of my own cardinal rules with this place, because when I first started, I'm well, we need to take care of the product market and and just like my menu, I had to do that menu because I offered too many things, So if you can narrow down, I promise you will get more clients you'll get better quality of clients. So anyway, better to offer one thing than to offer everything. And the more, you know, sometimes the harder to get that thing is. I know one guy who has access to a prison cell to film or to do photographs, exactly. And I mean, like, that's something that, like, I wrote a psych thriller several years back, and I looked everywhere for a prison cell to film in, and I gave up. I mean, basically, the guy who I talked to said, I actually got a phone call with the warden, the daytime warden, and he said, "Are you Diane Sawyer?" And I'm on the phone like, I don't think so, you know? And so he's like, then you're never getting in. He's like, cameras don't come in here. I'm sorry, they don't go in prisons. Like, you need to find another alternative. And so I was like, well, shoot. And then actually, like 2 years later, I was in a prison filming, so that was kind of cool. A live, like, prison, it was pretty sweet. Anyway, yeah, I was Diane Sawyer that day.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part. Anyway, so yeah. But if you have access to something strange like that or something unique, make that your thing, you know, and then just, you know, be ready for your business to take off. All right, it's an interesting question. 2 photographers, one with more emphasis on product, one with more emphasis on sales. Who does better?
Sales,
So,
Sales. We got 2 for sales.
every time.
Who's for product? Anybody? No? Everybody says sales? I thought it was product. I really did when I first heard this. But the data is, it's sales all the way. You can have a mediocre product and sell the crap out of it to people who are looking, and have an amazing product that nobody knows about. And and sales every time. So that's why a lot of the stuff, the SEO, you know, being found is so vitally important. So which brings us to inbound versus outbound marketing. Anybody know the difference between the two?
Who calls?
Who calls? Yeah. So inbound is when
What would they call you?
they call you, and outbound is when you're making
Begging
cold
them.
calls. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're begging them, is that what you said? When you're groveling to your client, which obviously, you know, like, doesn't look as good. It is, however, well, I'll tell you that in a second. So yeah, inbound is basically when you've got a client who's searching for you. Now, what's the great thing about when a client is searching for you?
You pay more.
You pay more?
No, they pay more.
They pay more. Why, and why is that?
Because they're willing to.
Okay,
so they're glad they found you?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
And
already
they-
looking.
They already know
Yeah,
that they want what you have, right? So if you're doing outbound marketing like flyers or radio advertising, television, things like that, pay-per-click, well, yeah, pay-per-click ads, it's not. No, I guess that's inbound. Anyway, but anything where it's the spray and pray method, you know, you just put it out all over the place, and hopefully 1% of those people will call you back, and they won't, because it never works that way. Any of those agencies that have, you know, that do print advertising, they all say, oh yeah, we see a lot of, you know, 1%, you know, comes back, and it's like, I've done it, and like, I've never seen anything close to that, and I really focus on like, what the content of my ads say, and like, I really, you know, work on making catchy stuff that has a question to it that they need to ask, and things like that, and it's like, it ain't no 1%, I'm sorry, it's not. So yeah. All right, outbound is when you reach out to potential customers. I already said that. All right. Okay. Better percentage of sales on inbound, because obviously they know they're looking, they know you have what they want, and the interesting thing here is, like, if let's say Google AdWords or Yahoo Search Marketing, you're paying based on it's a bid system, so you will bid a certain amount for a click, or like something transitioning over from people seeing it to them actually going to your site. That can be for some places. I mean, if you're in a high-end market where you're charging a couple $1,000s for your service, like if you're doing people's mortgages or something like that, you're looking at paying $30, $40, $50 a click. And it just is based on what other people are willing to pay for that same click. Now, Google, does anybody here own Google? No? That is
Oh,
a
wish.
damn shame. Yeah, because I mean, seriously, they are cleaning up. And anytime, I mean, like, it's crazy how much you pay for these clicks. And it's just, I mean, it's not even a product that they're offering. It's all digital. They don't print anything. Somebody goes on, Google just made $20. It's crazy. Anyway, so for lower end services, you're looking at bids $3 to $5, $6, something like that. Totally depends in every market, but from what I found with photography, it's like 3 to 6. That's not even true. 3 to 11. I'll say $3 to $11. Widely variant. So anyway, that is why if you're really in it to win it, start working on your SEO now. Because SEO, basically, pay-per-click ads, they're the ones at the very top of the page. The bad thing about them is right next to it, it says ad. And anybody who knows anything about anything knows that these people didn't really earn their way to those spots. They're paying their way to those spots. It does also mean that they're hungry for business, which, can be used to your advantage. But it's free for Google to search for your business and just find it organically. So you still are going to be like down the list of ways. I mean, after all the paid ads. However, that's where most people start searching anyway. They'll search something, they scroll down to the first one they see that doesn't say ad, and that's their first click. So that's what you get with good SEO. And SEO it's a monster. So anyway, I don't even really know anything about it. So when I say I'm not gonna talk about it, it's not because I'm withholding information. That's everything I know. So anyway, I would highly recommend, like I said, if you're in it to win it, hire someone who really knows SEO, who has a proven track record, and like if you want to use Sri, he's excellent. So, and he has a money back guarantee, which is pretty awesome. All right, with outbound marketing, if you so choose. So there are some times where outbound marketing is a positive thing. Right before Black Friday might be a good time. If you can get ads for the same price as the rest of the year, right when everybody's about to just drop loads of money, sure, then do it. If you can offer something at a markedly lower cost than someone else, then do it. I mean, there are a lot of things that like people are, it just has to appeal to a wider market. This is where your niche market is completely out of play. Because, obviously we're not showing people pictures if we put a radio ad out. If you can do a mailer and then you show them 2 pictures, and say, if these 2 pictures entice you, go to the website. But in so my motto for this is memorable is better than good. So, and basically what I mean by that is like, okay, there are some really clever commercials out there that are not memorable at all. And then there's stupid commercials like, okay, anybody remember, head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Anybody? Nobody?
I remember that.
Okay, no? Are you serious? Did you not watch TV for like 5 years?
20.
20 years? Okay, so yeah, I would understand that. Yeah, it was everywhere. It's seriously like this commercial was everywhere.
For like a year.
It was
died. It was completely gone.
It was
I think
crazy.
the product is gone too.
And so they just come on, they scream this one phrase at you, and by the end you're like, oh my gosh, I have a headache. I mean, it probably gave people most of the headaches that it cured. Just because then later on, you're thinking about how much you hate that commercial. And then they come out with a commercial where somebody says, head on, I hate your commercials, but your product is amazing. And then you're like, that guy, I'm with that guy. Maybe their product is amazing, and seriously, that's when they started picking up steam as a company. I don't even know if you can find the product anymore. They probably wasted too much money on their advertising. But that commercial was so damn memorable. I mean, I hated it, So anyway, memorable. Exactly, yeah. You give me a break. Give me. I mean, it's an earwig. It's just it gets in your head and it won't come out forever. I'm sorry if that's stuck in any of your heads for the rest of tonight. If it is, just think of Mama keeps brights or whites. I like the sunlight. That'll take it out. So anyway, but then that'll be in there. So then you can think of. Just kidding. All right, processing payments. This is like, okay. I've told several friends, like, if I ever write a business book, it's gonna be a pamphlet, because there are just a few things that are so vitally important that most, even big businesses, they break these rules. And if they didn't, they would corner the market, and they should hire me as a consultant just for a day. Anyway, if you know these people, tell them. Okay, make your services easy to buy. This is like vitally important. If it's hard to pay you, if when the person says, okay, do you take cards? And let's say you're at a shoot and you say, oh no, I don't take cards, I hope you brought a check or cash, or you can leave your left shoe with me while you go to the bank. You know what I mean? So that's a big hassle, okay? So yes, the easier you are to buy from, the more likely it is that you will make a sale. Okay. Oh wait, I totally duplicated that, real cool. All right, so if the hardest thing to do is to find clients, the worst thing you can do is to lose them, right? And I mean, like in I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the photography market is drying up. Has anybody with me on that?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So now that everybody has a camera on their phone, and I love that people with good eyes and no money can do some pretty good looking photography right now. However, he's like, guilty. So what it means though is that there are so many people who are falling in love with photography, that they go out and get their like low level DSLR and then start selling photography, for people who are trying to make a real living at it. So clients who are willing to pay, they are a diamond in the rough. So when you find them, don't lose them. So we're going to talk about the 3 best ways to lose a client. First of all, do your own thing. My style is best. This is why you came to me. I know you have requests, and just back off, and I'm going to do my thing. Seriously, it's like one of the things where, like, if a client has something specific in mind, now I'm not trying to tell you go away from your style or like take yourself completely out of it, but there are going to be shots that you can do with everyone who comes in, basically everyone. And there are times, I will say, there are times that you should turn clients away. If they're so far away from what you're trying to do as an artist, just let them go. There's somebody else that will take their place. But if they come to you with something, and I hate this, by the way, but if they come to you with like an Instagram thing, oh, like, okay, so I like this one, and I want to do this one, and I want to do this one, and this, and these are my ideas. And I'm like, those aren't ideas, those have already been done, let's do something new. That's what I'm thinking. But if this is what they really like, and I know that I can sneak in some real art while we're shooting, then yeah, let's do it. And I want to make them happy with what I gave them, basically. So yeah, listen to your client and be open to shooting stuff that's outside of your comfort zone or outside of your style. Okay. Another good way is to never progress as a photographer. As long as you aren't learning, as long as you're not pushing, the boundaries of your knowledge about photography or trying different things, you're never going to evolve. And the people who follow you all the way, they only follow if you're leading, right? So if you lead to here, and then everyone's just like, oh, well, now we're just waiting in a line. We're gonna go where there's something interesting. So, just keep evolving, keep learning, hone your skills all the time. you know, do your homework on what equipment is gonna be the best, you know, the best thing to get you the best pictures for the least price, do all that stuff, you know, make sure that you're delivering in a big way, in a way that other people won't be able to deliver. Because then you cement yourself as the one person that they know who they can go to that can do, you know, this level of work and you know, not cost them a fortune or whatever else it is that you offer them. And as soon as you have clients who, okay, so statistics on one-time clients, if you have a one-time client, there's like a 60% chance you'll never see them again, okay? Price, or that statistic goes up drastically as soon as you put discounts into the mix. If you put a 50% discount on something, you have almost a 99% chance of never seeing that client again. So yes, they know your work now, yes, they trust you, you've built this much of a relationship, but you did it at such a discounted price, that's the value in their mind now. So now they're gonna be coupon shopping to the next person. And that's those clients. Those are ones that, like, I don't do discounts like that unless it's like on studio rentals. I've run a Groupon one time because it takes me no time. I just have to, you know, I book off the studio for 1 hour, they come in, they use it, it's no skin off my back if they never come back again, basically. So anyway, and I have found that the really discounted, you know, so I did 2 different discounts. One was a 50% off, one was a 24% off, like that. Sold almost the same number of them. The people who bought it for 24% off, there were like twice as many of those people came back to actually rent again. So it did better for me to offer less of a discount, you know, it was more of a marketing strategy. So, okay. So anyway, keep pushing yourself, keep learning. Like, know, if you do photography, know your camera to the point where you could hold it behind your back and somebody says, go to F8, and you could just roll, click, 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 I know I'm at F8. You know, whatever it is, you wanna be so tuned into that you're not doing any of this. Okay, and this is very unprofessional. It just firmly, you know, it cements you in the position of newbie, you know. So, and then when they get pictures back, if they get anything back that they don't like, or they're like, well, I know we took those 2 by that one tree, and you're like, well, those were dramatically overexposed, I couldn't do anything with them. You know, that's, there's no coming back from that, so. Okay. Oh yeah, make them beg. Hold their pictures for ransom. Keep their stuff way too long, and don't deliver anything right away. It's a good way to absolutely alienate people. So they're paying you for a product, and they're paying for it on time. And so when, you know, if you receive one phone call that says, hey, I just wanted to see if those pictures were done yet, they're gone. They're essentially, if they come back as a client, you're so lucky. And don't do it again. But, and so, which is why, like, I have completely eliminated that from the business here. We promise pictures in 2 weeks. We deliver generally in 2 days. Sometimes it's the same day. Another thing that I don't promise is to give them pictures of, especially if it's an event, if it's anything that they're really excited about, give them 2 or 3 pictures the day of the event. I don't care how tired you are. It doesn't matter how many hours you just shot. Go back, completely edit 2 or 3 pictures, and give them something to be excited about. This is the stuff that's going to be shared on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. Your name is going to go out like wildfire because everybody who was there is liking and commenting and whatevering that picture, you know, retweeting and all this stuff. Oh, my cousin just got married and I was here and these pictures are beautiful. And there's your little logo right on the bottom doing marketing to all these different places. And if you wait after a wedding like a week, I mean, just from what I've noticed, the chances that people are going to share these pictures just drops and drops and drops. And I'm not talking about, like, the couple's always going to share them, don't get me wrong. That next generation, so the couple has, let's say, 1,200 friends between them. The next generation of their friends, that's your audience, you know. So, and that's just massive. I mean, it's just exponentially bigger. So,
Do you give them 2 copies, one for a square crop and one for a real picture?
I don't, but that's a really good idea.
I've been doing that square crop. If I put
That's-
a
yeah, that's
border
good.
on both sides.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah, because it stops.
Make it their
stops my
profile,
name.
like, because yeah, profile pictures now are almost every site 1:1 aspect ratio. So you're like, there's a 1:1. I don't know if you want to do anything with it or not, but whatever. So that's
I
perfect.
put them in.
That's great. Write that down, you guys. Come on. This is top notch. Okay, so I guess that was it. But that's everything I know about business and photography and websites. So
So what does it cost to get an entry-level website? I just want a place to show my work and
Okay.
take orders.
I wish Sri was still here. It really depends.
Can I get started for 500?
You could definitely get started for 500. Hey.
You brought snacks.
Did you bring us something?
Yeah, if you want some of it, it's my lunch from today.
It's like it's turkey. You know, so we can all chew on it. Anyway, so yeah, there are a lot of plugins for like shopping cart, and you can actually go onto PayPal and actually have PayPal make you a button that's specific to your website that you basically just copy and paste into your HTML if you know how to do that. Learning the very basics of HTML is probably worth it. For me, anything more than that, and I'm like,
But I can pay somebody $15 an hour to do it instead of
exactly,
what I'm
yeah.
doing.
And that's another thing too. I have content writers, not in the country. They speak incredible English, they write very well, and they're $30 a month to produce 45 posts for me. And they can
Post
do it,
about what?
just SEO type stuff. So basically it's like, it's gonna include what we're doing here. It's gonna be something pertinent to what's going on at the studio or events that are taking place and things like that. It's also going to include my keywords, so that as people are searching these specific keywords, we're coming up higher and higher in the ranks. That stuff, I mean, that was probably 5 hours for me, 5 hours a month for me before. They can do it in 2 hours. They're ecstatic to be paid $15 an hour in Malaysia. So I mean, like, and they really want to keep, they want to keep doing that for me, and they do an excellent job. So I don't know, stuff like, anyway. So yes, when it comes to outsourcing and stuff like that, if somebody else who really knows it well can do it for cheaper than the cost of your time to learn it and then do it, yeah, hire it out. So what else?
And where do you find your help?
How? All over the place. The best way that I found is like, if you can ask somebody for a recommendation, that's a good way. Somebody tested, it's far better than just trusting somebody new. But sometimes you can't, and then I just try to, like with this content writer, and actually it's a few people in Malaysia. I wrote back and forth with them for a while, and I was kind of gauging. It was like, okay, if I put an hour into this, I'll never have to think about it again. So I was kind of gauging like, how good is their English? Because it's really important that it's
Comes off natural.
yeah, exactly. So how interesting is it? How engaging are these posts and things like that? And then how well are they integrating the keywords in, so that it's not just reading like blah blah blah, pertinent, keyword, obvious keyword, and then back to stuff that actually matters. And they're really good with that. So I mean, like, I actually checked out 3 different companies or 3 different writers when I was doing that, and this one definitely stuck out as the one to go with. It's been a good relationship. And actually, what I've done with them, I was thinking at first, I'm like, okay, then they'll send me content, and I'll blast it out to Yext, which puts it out to 78 different sites, and I'll put it on Facebook, and I'll put it on Twitter and Instagram and all the different crap. But what I do instead, I have them send all that stuff to Sri and his team takes care of all that. They send it, they CC in my Yext account, which is the one that puts it out all over the place, and I haven't thought about it in like 2 months, and it's been amazing. And for that, it costs me $30 a month. It's totally incredible. So anyway, other questions? Pillow fight time? I'm just
No.
kidding. Dude, come on, stick in the mud. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I guess break, and thanks for being here, guys. And next week we're gonna start our film series, so it's gonna be all about. Are you? Yeah, you're in for that, about. Yeah, all about film lighting, sound. I mean, we'll go over how to use video cameras rather than still cameras. There are a few things to go over with that, and then we'll start shooting some stuff. It's gonna be a blast. We'll get into editing and how to do all that stuff. So I know for a lot of you here, this might be goodbye for a while at least, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. If you've ever wanted to, possibly get into like wedding videography, because that is a growing market rather than the wedding photography, which is a shrinking market. So a lot of people who are getting married will hire a videographer, and they will ask their sister, cousin, uncle to do their photographs. So anyway, just a little tip, a huge little tip. So anyway, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
cool.
good luck to you guys. Hopefully you won't need it after tonight.
Just beginning to.
I hope, yeah, I also. So basically, to introduce, this is Sri, and he and I started working together almost a year ago, I guess. Basically, my website was, it looked fine, it was good for a portfolio, but that's all it did. It didn't have any functionality to it. So I talked to Sri about doing some SEO, and we actually kind of discovered that my site needed a total overhaul to be able to do any SEO.
People
So
like this often notice that.
We have to.
We never see it, but
Right.
but he does.
yeah. So anyway, so we teamed up, and it's been really good. So now the site does we've got ideas for where to take it next, but it does almost everything that I'm looking for. So whiteboard behind you if you need to write anything down.
Sure, yeah.
And good to go.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Sri Manapalli. That's my company, Createch Information Systems. I'm not going to show you everything that I've been doing the last 5 years, so I just wanted to start off with that. I don't want to scare you guys. I have about an hour or so, that's why I'm going first. And so Nathan told me that you guys wanted to learn a little bit more about web development and kind of staying at a high level, right? I don't want to get into the technical details. Really, if we go down to the nuts and bolts, I used to do that, many years ago, but now I have a team that does that. But we do offer that as a company. My company does offer, we do offer web solutions, graphic design solutions like banners, logos, and business cards, that kind of stuff. And then we offer all kinds of digital marketing, search engine optimization, pay-per-click AdWords, Facebook, LinkedIn, Bing, any kind of email marketing and digital marketing that you can think of. So anyway, that's just briefly about me and my business. And I have, most of you have my cards. I leave. There's a card.
Yeah, if you just want to leave a stack up there.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever I have left, I'll just leave them in here.
I'll take a 20.
Is that?
I'll take a 20.
Oh yeah. There's no 20 out there, but yeah, you can take the rest of it. And do the marketing for me. Right. So just getting into. Really, I didn't prepare a lot of stuff, but again, we'll be open to any questions that you guys have. Just really wanted to hit at a few of the high level considerations, if you will, that have come up in the last few years. Very, very important. If you are getting a website developed, as you're saying, or if you are looking to develop a website yourself. Either way, these are very important considerations. This is not from any websites or anything, this is just purely from our experience. Okay, so that's why I just thought I just have like 3 high-level broad categories, and again, not getting into any specific frameworks or any specific platforms that we've been using. Started out with, just wanted to start out with interactive design. Without reading that out on the slide, you guys have an idea what interactive design means? Okay. So it's essentially a fancy term for mobile design. It means, if you look up Wikipedia or what have you, I mean, I think it has a few more things in its definition, but essentially it means mobile design. Can people look at your website? Does it behave? Does it look and feel and behave like it does on a laptop or desktop on mobile? Right? Is it easy to navigate? Can you click on the links or buttons? Can you, the overall look and feel and navigation and functionality, does it lend itself to be done on the mobile just as easily as you can do it on the on your laptop or desktop? This is one aspect that is probably, if you were to ask me, the number one consideration or factor that has bumped up in terms of priority. 5 years back, this wasn't as important, nearly as important as it is today. Okay, for various reasons, and the top reason out of that is to be found online. Okay, Google was the pioneer. Surprise, right? Because they are the pioneers online. So they are the pioneers in bringing up these standards for mobile design, or even to coin the term, I guess, interactive design, right? Originally it might have come from somebody, but has become more popular with Google. So they are the guys that actually came up with the standards for this. For what constitutes or what makes up a good mobile site, right? There are tons of factors into that. You can Google actually for Google mobile standards or something like that. I'm sure you'll hit up on that. There are several considerations that go into what gets to be called a good mobile site. Okay, a few of those that I can just mention here. A lot of you, how many of you have seen sites that when you bring up on the mobile, it's just a miniature version of what it looks like on a laptop or desktop?
I've seen that.
Pretty much a lot of sites, right? That is not mobile design. That is not interactive by design. So it looks like a squeezed, condensed, squeaky version of what it looks like on the mobile, right? Without having to expand that, or without zooming it up by like 500,000%, you can see anything in there. I mean, you need a microscope to look at that. It does have often horizontal scrolling, which is against the philosophies of good websites. They shouldn't have horizontal scrolling even on a desktop or laptop and so on mobile, right? So that's one of the considerations. It shouldn't have horizontal scrolling. It should not be just like a miniature, condensed version of the mobile site, and there should be some level of separation between buttons and links, so that for the simple intuitive reason, right, that you should be able to click on those buttons and links. If they look like teensy like that, you want to click on this, but you want to click on that. You want to click on, and that could be entirely different. So there are all these kinds of standards defined. You can Google them up and look for that, but they're the ones that actually define these good mobile sites. Seamless look, feel, and functionality, just like how you can do that. And they have certain, like I said, they have certain standards for that. One of those is, you might have seen this on some of the good mobile sites, is menu driven, right? Everything that you see like this, width-wise, on when you're looking at it on a laptop, it just appears, it's all kind of condensed into this one menu icon on mobile designs, right? This is part of the standard design for mobile, for a good mobile site. So when you click on that, that's the one that actually opens up everything else that you can do on the site, right? So things like that, all those constitute what is called a good mobile site. The reason we're talking about this, the reason I brought this up first, is it's required absolutely for digital marketing. Okay, but digital marketing might be like a fancy term to be found online, right? And no website is an island. Most sites have this implicit requirement built into that, or implicit goal built into it, that you want to be found by people. Could be your customers, could be somebody else. It doesn't even necessarily have to be customers. In a lot of cases, it is customers for small businesses or for any business. But even outside of that, you want to be found online. That's pretty much a given for most, I would say 99% of the websites, right? I mean, you just don't want to make something, right? Yeah. So that being the case, this interactive design or mobile, a good mobile site that looks and feels and behaves well on a smartphone or tablet is pretty much a mandatory requirement right now. Unless again, you want to be, unless it is actually one of those 1% that doesn't necessarily have to be found by anyone, right? You just exists. You just send the link out or whatnot. So what that bullet also means is that if it's not mobile, Google and other search engines too, and again Google was the one that started this, they would not rank the sites. There's no way you can have a not mobile friendly site, and we'll get to that in the next point here, what actually constitutes a mobile friendly, in addition to the standards, right? How can you test? But if you don't have a good mobile friendly site, you're not going to rank up there.
You can tell now that Google thinks it's important, because if you buy a theme or something already pre-made, instead of hiring somebody to do all the coding,
Right.
there used to be, you used to have to hunt to find an interactive design theme, and now they're almost all interactive design.
Exactly, by design.
Yeah.
Same with WordPress. If
Yeah.
you buy a WordPress theme, they
Yeah.
all come interactive by
Exactly.
definition. There's none out there that we know of.
But
and
2
we
or
deal
3
with
years
dozens.
ago, it was a mixed bag. You
Exactly.
could accidentally get one that wasn't.
You're right.
And not even know it.
Right, and that by itself tells you how much this whole interactive design has evolved,
Yeah.
how mandatory it is today
Mhm.
compared to like 2, 3, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's here to stay. It's might as well do it for your own website, or if you're into the business of actually doing sites for others. Either way, it's a requirement. So the next point, how do you know if your site is interactive? Of course, other than what I just mentioned at the beginning of this slide, which is just looking at it and it just looks like a tinsy version of the. Other than that, how do you know for sure that Google thinks, that Google being, Google, last we checked, and we check this every couple of months, Google still constitutes 95% of all search online, right? Bing, Yahoo, and others, all of those put together, still less than 5%. So Google is still the lion's share on that. So how do you know, at least for Google, and I think there might be similar tools for others too, but whether they think that it is mobile friendly or not, there's that link. Okay, yeah.
I thought it might be important to bring up how many searches for different websites and like different services come from mobile versus desktop or tablet.
And this, yes, that's a good point. In 2014, I think, yes, I'm sure it was for 2014, it was 55%, I guess, of all the searches were done on mobile devices.
And growing,
it was
right?
and it was growing.
Wow.
Yeah. And in 2015, the projected number, if I recall it right, was somewhere close to 65 to 70, somewhere in that range. So increasingly, a lot of searches, just like a lot of online activity in general, is happening on smartphones, right, and tablets.
Everybody's gonna go to their phone first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're outside, you're driving. Hopefully not driving, but something else. You're outside, and yeah, a lot of these are happening online, and we see that. As I mentioned, we do a lot of SEO and PPC. Google AdWords, run those marketing campaigns. A lot of those clicks, we track those with Google Analytics. Increasingly happening on mobile, rapid increase in mobile share of the digital marketing piece. Yeah. So yes, that's on the rise. Yeah. So that's the link. If you ever want to check that from an authentic, that's from Google. Just like with everything, Google, I love Google. Okay, we work a lot with Google. We're trying to be Google preferred partners this year. You can tell, I'm pretty sure, I'm a Google fan. So, just like with everything Google, this is so easy to use, right? That's the primary thing. Everything, including their search, right, has to be easy to use. It has to be fast. So this is very easy to use. All it has is one box. You just have to type in or copy paste your URL in there. Click on that button, and it tells you within a minute or so, less than that, it tells you whether that particular site or page is mobile friendly or not. Okay, so you can have Nathan forward this to you, and then for interactive design, as we were just talking, right? That's the last point. All the third-party frameworks and platforms provide humongous support, and it has jumped like 300, 400, 500% in the last 2 to 3 years. For see that? Okay. For interactive design, just case in point, what we were just talking, right?
Yeah.
WordPress, or Google themes or any other, there's another site we use quite a bit called Theme Forest,
Oh, yeah.
themeforest.net.
Actually, that's where I got.
Yeah, okay. For themes, that's really a popular site. For WordPress or other platforms, they have thousands of different themes. You can choose from it, extremely competitive pricing. All those, 2, 3, 5 years ago, they didn't used to be interactive. Or some of them didn't used to be interactive. Let's say if you go to one of those sites and buy a theme, right? Or go to WordPress and buy a theme. They didn't necessarily, they weren't interactive by design. So you bought them, but you still have to write some code to make them interactive.
Not
But
anymore.
today, yeah, not anymore. Today, it's tough to find them. At least on these major ones that we use, it's tough to find a theme or a plugin without being interactive. So that's what I meant by that. The last slide, it's getting increasing support from platforms and frameworks. Oh, actually, before you go to the next one, are there any other questions on this interactive? And I don't promise to actually know all the answers. Like I said, I have experts on my team. It's actually my job is not to actually do it myself anymore. I just just do more like shout orders, I guess. But I'd be glad to answer anything I can. So, yeah.
What was the name of the site that you said where you like pull designs from?
Theme Forest.
Theme Forest, yeah.
Themeforest.net.
Okay.
Themeforest.net.
They're really number one out there right now.
I believe so. They have thousands of themes. You can get a theme for like 15. If it's HTML theme, you can get a theme for like $15, which would save you probably around 4 to 5 hours of HTML coding. Really worth it.
The other thing, when you go and look at the themes on their site, they've got it set up so it's really easy to see the different views you can
Yes.
make your theme look like.
Right.
I didn't say that right, but I knew what I meant.
Well, actually customize the themes, right?
Yeah.
When you take a theme, you don't necessarily have to use it just as is. It
Mhm.
comes with all these HTML coding, but then you can customize, and we do all the time. When we buy it, well, not all the time, but a lot of times. So yeah, they show you that too, I guess, the preview of different.
Yeah, they have the preview
ways.
and then they show you like a slideshow, or then
Mhm.
you can actually, like you're on a real theme, like it's
Mhm.
live.
Mhm.
I like
Yeah.
that. I think that's kind of useful.
Yeah, it's a really useful site. Saves a lot of time. So, is there any other questions? The second part of what I wanted to share was, the site development as it relates to digital marketing. Right, sites today have a purpose, and one of the premier purposes of sites is to be found. Right, most sites. Okay, with that in mind, yeah, no website is an island. You want to be found. Think digital marketing during development. There are 2 ways to do this. Legacy sites. If you already have a site that's been there for a few years, okay, now you are trying to do, bring it online visibility or bring it up in the rankings, then that's something. Yes, ma'am. I don't want to say it. Yeah, sure. So that's an afterthought. Right, now you want to be found. You already have a site that's been functioning for a few years. Now you want to be found. Then of course, there out of the several techniques to be found online, SEO being one of the premier ones. A lot of work has to go in to first set the site right. Okay, before you actually, it takes a few months to sometimes even a year to do that. But then, if you're doing something new, either your own site or for somebody else, then if you actually keep some of these digital marketing techniques or guidelines in mind while you're actually building the site, that helps a lot. That helps save time when you actually get to do the SEO part of it, right? So that's very important. Not to say that you do all the way down to meta tags and not down to the nuts and bolts when you build the site for SEO, but at least the high level pieces in place. That leads to my next point. Content is king for online visibility, more for SEO. This is your paid ads, sponsored ads don't really need content to be really that great. As long as the phone number, what I'm talking about is if you're trying to run an AdWords campaign, right, or a Facebook campaign, as long as some of the metrics match between your ad and your site, you're good. They run your ads. They don't have to be necessarily, some of them are dictating that they have to be interactive, but it doesn't have to follow all the guidelines, all the standards. As long as some basic metrics match, they're fine. Like number one, phone number, right? The phone number that you put on the ad has to match the phone number that you have on the site. Otherwise, Google doesn't even approve the ad, right? And things like that. So some basic metrics. But then, for SEO, content is king. Okay, number one. And I think, I don't know how many of you have background in this area, digital marketing. So Google comes up with updates to their core algorithm that they use to crawl the whole world and then index the sites, right? And that algorithm is what is responsible. So they crawl, several times a day all over the web, and they index all those results, right? So that's what they bring up, and they have this algorithm to rank the sites based on the indexing, okay? And they make changes to that multiple times a year, okay? And with the recent changes, the last 3, 4, 5 years, content is now king, really. You got to get the content right. Okay, so what that means is that this is part of what I meant in the bullet number 2 as well, is that when you're building the site, think about what you want people to find the site by, right? They're also known as keywords, tags, right? So let's say if you're, for Doxica, right? Professional videographers, Denver. Okay, so that's one of the keywords. So what do people actually search by? And Google gives you a lot of this information. You can look this up yourself. For some of these, you got to use some advanced Google tools, but there are some basic Google tools that give you search volumes. If you want to restrict it by a geographic area, you might have to use some advanced tools. So think about that. Think about what you want people to find the site by, and build that into your content. Right? That saves a lot of time. Later, when you actually go to do the campaign, it can cut a few weeks or months for that whole campaign. Okay. Target keywords without compromising quality. This is very important actually. This is often really challenging. We're actually running with that challenge even now for Doxica. When you build content, right, it has two purposes. It has to be good for SEO. Google has to think that it has to look good for Google. At the same time, it has to be good for the visitor. I can bet you, how many of you have seen sites that when you get into the site, you know that this site is built for SEO, for Google. It doesn't really make sense as you read it or as you go through it, right? It's paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of text that it just says, yeah, photography Denver, photography Alameda, photography, by just the look of it, by just reading it, that it is built for online rankings, not really meant for a visitor to be just reading through, right? Have you seen some of those sites? No? Okay. There are lots of them out there. There are lots of them. So that's where this challenge comes from, is it has to be good for Google or search engines, and it also has to be good for the visitor. And this same concern is also an ongoing concern for postings, to keep up the SEO rankings once you get online postings. It's called off-page optimization. But especially when you're building a site, this is a top concern. The same content that you have has to cater for both. It has to look good for Google. At the same time, it has to keep the visitor engaged. It cannot look like those sites that are just made for Google or online visibility. Right? Calls to action on every landing page, and again goes with the same theme of what we were talking about. Paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, gone. Calls to action. These are all in the Google standard guidelines, right? This is called Web 2.0. Some of you may have heard that term. Web 2.0 is a term used for modern generation sites, right? That's a technical term used for that. One of the main considerations for Web 2.0 is less text, more calls to action. So you go there, learn more. You just give them a teaser, right? You can't fit it all anyway. Especially when people are looking at it on their tablets, mobile devices, and all that, and also even on laptops and desktops. Give them a little bit of a teaser. We are, for example, right? Doxica is one of the leading photography and videography service providers in Denver. And then learn more. There's a button right there. That is a call to action. Okay? If it's an e-commerce site, if you're trying to sell something, buy now. Okay? See all. So you say that, okay, testimonials, common, and every site should have testimonials, right? That's the seal of authenticity, right? So anyway, testimonials, you just show like whatever, 3 or 4 or 5 on the top page. See all. That's a call to action. If you want to see more, you'll see them all. Okay? And there are several more. Calls to action, extremely important. On every landing page, actually even on every page, that's ideally what they recommend, what the standards are out there. But especially if that happens to be a landing page. A landing page is a page that people land on when they click on search engine results of any kind, right? Paid ads, organic results, what have you. When they click on that ad or when they click on that listing, where they land, that's a landing page. So that's on the site. It has to be on the site. So especially for landing pages and also generally for any kind of page, calls to action, really, really important. Make sure you have those. Alert for broken links with automated tools. This is for ongoing, not necessarily while you are building the site, but there are some. It's a good thing to learn. That's why I threw it in there. So now you have a site and you have these landing pages and you have campaigns going, right? People are able to find you. There are some tools that you can use which will automatically keep checking site for broken links. So let's say you have a landing page, you have this campaign, you have the rankings, your site comes up on page 1, and people are clicking on that, everything is happy. Now 2 months down the line, one of those pages is broken. For whatever reason, right? Broken links happens all the time, right? So 404, page not found, right? Or forbidden, you're not allowed to use or look at this page anymore, right? So all those things do happen. So there are lots of automated tools, even free ones. We use a few of them, but there are a lot of those tools that you can use as set up for your site. They keep automatically checking the site, and if they find any broken links, then they automatically email you.
Do you have one you recommend?
I believe the one that we use most is called SpyFu. It's mostly an SEO, it's mostly an organic search tool, but I believe that's the one that we use for this too.
Can you spell that?
SPYFU,
Okay.
SpyFu. That's a tool we use a lot. I know that. I think this is part of what we use it for. It has a free version, just like with everything. It has a free version, it has a paid version. We use the paid version. But yeah, there are a lot of, even if you just Google for broken links tool, you can look at those. Yeah, definitely saves time with SEO. If the site is built well, as I mentioned earlier, you can put some high-level plugs in place, like content, the number one, content, and some other plugs in place that would save you time later. Adobe Flash issue for iDevices, use HTML5, CSS. Again, don't want to get into too much of technology here, but this is something that we run into every week. A lot of you probably know this. Adobe Flash, right? The one that's used for these banners and, right? You heard about Adobe Flash,
Yeah,
right?
but I don't
Yeah,
like
it doesn't play on iDevices, on iPhones and,
I don't play well on this either.
really?
Yeah.
On Windows?
Yeah, no, that's not Windows, that's a Mac.
Oh, yeah, MacBook, yes.
I turned it off. And
Right.
it keeps sending me updates, it's like, no, I
Right.
don't want you to go away.
Yeah, that's what I mean by iDevices. iMac, MacBook, iPhone, any Apple device, anything that's on Mac OS or iOS, they won't play. So just something to keep in mind, because those do constitute a major share of mobile devices here in the US, all over the world actually. So if you're building something like that, it's better to build it with we build it with HTML5 and CSS. There are other tools that you can use. There are other technologies you can use that will play on all devices. That's one of the premier ones. That's the one that we mainly use, so that they play on all devices.
Is that Flash Player? Same thing?
Yeah, Flash Player is a container, again from Adobe, that would play Flash, right? Flash is what plays inside the container, and the container itself is Adobe, Flash container, right? So there's a container and there's a player in there. So think of it as more as a player, right? So that's again with Flash. So this is kind of away from all that.
Some of those are very aggravating too, so I'm glad we don't.
Yeah,
mess with
right,
it.
right. And if you look at, I was looking at one this morning, it just looks like a big gaping hole. There's this one potential customer of mine. So it just looks like a gaping hole. They build this thing using Flash, so which is definitely not good in terms of engaging the customers, right? They don't want to do a lot with those kinds of sites if they see it on their devices. So just a word of advice there. The last part of the high level considerations, well, yeah, I guess at least part of what we do, and anybody needs to know that is looking to either build a site or getting a site built, are integrations. Again, no website is an island. Sites have to talk to other components, other devices, other applications, apps, right? Other sites, other software products. So site has to talk to others. Right? So these are some of the ones that we have either done or we are looking to do in the near future. Keep these as considerations. Google Calendar. If you want to implement a scheduler, this is something that we did for Doxica. Right? If you want to, you can go in and you can schedule your online appointment, right? If you want to schedule anything through the site, well, that's not the only one, but that's the premier one, Google Calendar. You may want to integrate with Google Calendar. Really good API, again, seamless, and provides really good functionality overall in terms of scheduling, viewing, and all that.
Can you schedule blog posts with that?
No, this is just for the calendar. Blog posts, there are others actually. You can actually do that using WordPress as a plugin for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and others. Yeah. And then Google Maps, this is something that we did for some other another client of mine, in terms of actually marking down addresses, having different types of businesses and different generally what you have with Google Maps, right? Including proximity listings, what the listings that you have nearby any given address. They have a whole big API. That's a bit more complex than Google Calendar. It's actually really complex. It has to do with geospatial information and all that. Just throw it in there. Not everybody has. It's not very common to have to integrate with Google Maps, but Calendar more often. Shopping carts, open cart if you're looking for like e-commerce or those kinds of sites where the client can, customer can choose something, throw it into a cart, and then check out later. Pretty much e-commerce, right? So there are some solutions, some integrations for that. The one we have used the most for that is OpenCart, a framework called OpenCart. It's open source. E-commerce, Magento is the premier one. That's one that we have used. And then payment gateways. If you want to have payments online, which we're implementing for Doxica as well. The premier ones are there for payment gateways. There's one called Authorize.net, there's Amazon Payments. These others are the last three are more common, more popular. You may have heard about these. Amazon Payments, Google Payments, and PayPal. And Authorize.net is fairly common as well. These are the frameworks that some of these are free, I guess, but yeah, these basically allow you to make payments through your site, right? You get those libraries, you integrate with those. They have certain list of requirements that you, for example, like the information that you need to capture on the site before you actually invoke their APIs, right? Like billing address, like name, so they have pretty much a common requirements or data that they need, for you to integrate with them. So you just essentially integrate with those. They have different models that they work with in terms of payments. It's usually a combination of upfront payment and a payment per transaction. If it is PayPal, it's like I believe it's like what is it? There's a static like $1 per transaction or something plus a percentage. So they are working with different models in terms of how they charge the merchant. You know, if you're the merchant, you're a small business owner, you're the merchant, you want to have the ability for your customers to be able to pay through your website. So then that's what you pay to them. You know, usually it's a combination of standard and then a fixed plus per transaction, a percentage per transaction. And then the other type of integrations which is increasingly becoming popular is integration with cloud storage. So you want this is something that we are doing with Doxica, but there are certain restrictions that we ran into just at a high level, not with Dropbox. We're trying to integrate with Dropbox, and the limitation we ran into with that was not with Dropbox, was actually with GoDaddy, with the hosting provider, right? So the hosting service providers have some kind of limitations, but anyway, these are some of the more popular ones for cloud storage. Dropbox, Google, and OneDrive from Microsoft. They all have APIs, and there's a ton of others. These are the most common ones that we've been integrating with. They all have APIs that you can integrate with. And then some of the others, YouTube, are really, really common. Pretty much every single site that we do has an embedded video in there, right? So that's normally done through these technological iframes, where you actually, the video content itself is stored. We have some in Doxica, right?
Yeah.
And that video page, I believe all of those are using iframes. The content itself is stored on YouTube. It's not stored on your site.
Right, because then we would have to stream from the site, and
Exactly.
the bandwidth would have to be incredible. So
Yeah, and if you do that, then you run into all kinds of restrictions. You have to go for really, really top of the top solution for hosting. You run into issues with bandwidth. You run into issues with actual space itself, because videos are really space intensive, right? So 10 videos and you're already looking at like 20 GB easily. So you got to go with all of that, but this is a really, really neat solution where your content is actually stored on and hosted on YouTube, but then it gets played in a frame on the site when you click on that, right? So that's becoming increasingly popular. And WordPress Blogger, to your question, there are APIs that WordPress offers. APIs Blogger, and this one is by Google, the second most popular blogging site in the world. And they both offer APIs, and the others, less popular ones, a lot of them offer APIs as well. So you can integrate your site with this, with these sites. Now, taking a minute on that, you can do this in several different ways, and we do all of these. You can actually create it right on the site and post it on the site. That's one common way of doing that. But then it has to be found through search engines, not necessarily on those sites. Now, another neat technique in this is these sites, especially these two, WordPress and Blogger, they have millions of visitors on those sites every day. These are the most popular ones. So another neat way of doing that is we recommend that to some of our some of our clients, and we actually did support that for some of my clients is that they actually have their blogs, let's say on WordPress. You have a blogging account on WordPress. You actually blog on WordPress, but then you integrate that with the site. So every night or every hour or something, you run a bot that goes and pulls the content from the account and posts it on the site. The advantage is that in that case, even though you may not be on the top of the search engine rankings, you get some traffic just from people that are going to those sites and searching for similar content. So let's say you're a financial planner, right? That's a photography, right? So you go to WordPress and you blog on WordPress, right? And then if you integrate that with your site, if you integrate that with the site and bring the content over, that's really the best. Then you have both the worlds and the best of both worlds. But then by blogging over on those sites, you're also getting the the attention of those, you're also getting that visibility from all those millions of customers that are actually visiting those sites and searching for financial planning or photography on those sites. So it becomes the best of both worlds. If you can do it on those sites and bring the content over, and then of course also do your marketing for SEO, you'll be also found on Google or search engines, and at the same time you'll also be found on those sites.
Some of the WordPress themes include the blog, you do it right there in the admin area.
Right.
You just cut and paste and you're done.
Yeah. Most of those actually.
Oh, really?
Most of the WordPress themes. The ones that WordPress offers.
Yeah,
Third party.
the theme forest has the blogs integrated with the site. I can't
Right.
say it right. With the site
Mhm.
already,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
nice.
There's an implicit assumption that WordPress actually started out as a blogging service, right? And then it evolved into a comprehensive
Website.
platform for websites.
Yeah.
So there's an implicit assumption out there that anybody who wants to build their site on WordPress platform, they're looking at blogging. That's the implicit. So pretty much all WordPress themes, they offer blogging because that's where it came from. Originally, WordPress came from blogging.
It's nice not to have two
Yeah.
different ones.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that's about. There's nothing wrong in actually doing it, not doing it on those sites. Just do it on your own site. Just complete blogging. You blog on your site. It gets you just behind the scenes. The developers actually get the app, right? WordPress app, install it on the server. It comes with some pre-built screens and all that. So everything you have on your site. Right? You can go post on your site and it actually gets displayed to public on your site. There's nothing wrong with that. Then you have to get the traffic through search engines or some other mechanisms. That's exactly the advantage of doing it on those sites as well and pulling it.
Did you cover what API stands for?
Oh, well, APIs are application programming interfaces. They're like hooks. So if you were to just briefly, really, really high level, right? What is an API? So if, let's say Google Calendar, we talked about Google Calendar. Excuse me, handwriting. But if this is the actual Google Calendar app, the functionality, yes, that's the app. But it has to have hooks so that sites can actually look that up, right? So this is your World Wide Web, right? And so sites or apps can take advantage of that. If there's just an app and there's no hooks to that, then you can do. So these are exactly APIs. This is what it stands for, application programming interface. It's basically behind the scenes, right? That we do. For example, that payment. Every one of these that you saw in these integrations, they're all APIs that they offer, right? So those are the hooks that external sites, apps, what have you, those components can use to interact with the core functionality of a given app. And then Facebook, Twitter, API for social logins. Social logins are becoming increasingly popular. We have just started dealing with some of these in terms of integrations in the last 6 months to a year. You guys know what social login is? Okay. Social login is, have you seen some of the sites where they ask you to log in? You can create a login on their site. They say, or log in using your Facebook credentials, or log in using your Google credentials. Facebook and Google are the two most, or Twitter actually, are the three most popular ones that everybody looks to be trusting. If you have a login on Google, you don't have to create a login with me. Log in with your Google login, right? That's social logins. Okay. Again, becoming increasingly popular. So we started doing this, like I said, with some of my other clients recently in the last 6 to 9 months. They have APIs for that, for social logins. Again, just something to consider. You may or may not use this, but just something to consider. And then Groupon, last but not least. Everybody wants coupons, right? Everything from milk to cars. It looks like the world runs on coupons nowadays. So Groupon is a major site. They have APIs that you can hook into, where you can post your ads over there, and when they click on that, it just gets directed to. There's different levels of integrations. more tighter integrations, different levels of integrations with any of these. So really, that's all I had actually. Again, I kept it fairly high level. Again, just to quickly recap, the interactive design piece, which is mobile design, and keep in mind, you need to be found online. So when you're trying to build a site or getting a site built, keep that in mind. That's the second point. And third point is integrations. A site needs to be able to talk to other, and then there are accounting actually. Just recently, you started talking to some companies that are looking to integrate with the accounting packages. Lots of accounting package, QuickBooks and tons of others out there. Point is, every site needs to be able to talk to, actually bidirectionally, needs to be able to pull information out of and post information to, right? To the other sites or other applications, other components out there. So that's pretty important. So those are the three high level, at least what I thought of when we were talking about this. So
Awesome.
that was useful.
Thank you very much. Man.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, so yeah, okay, last questions for sure, anybody?
Is there any disadvantage to social logins? To log in using your Facebook account? I see that, like you say, I see it all over the place now. Is it
Not if you go with
a
these.
good idea?
Yeah, it's just like, think of it as the DMV. DMV giving you a driver's license, right? So somebody is saying, the government in this case is saying that this is Tom, and so, right? This is who he claims to be, and this is his picture, right? It's a seal of authentication.
Okay.
As long as the social logins are, I'm not aware of, I haven't used any other than these three, and I've actually not seen any other than these three, Google, Facebook, and Twitter. So as long as the seal of authentication, as long as who is actually authenticating you is trusted themselves,
Right.
right? You know what I'm saying? If it's not the government, if I'm saying that this is Tom, then somebody may not believe me. How can they trust me to trust you, right? So as long as it's one of those sites that are really trusted themselves, I don't see that as a. I see that as actually, a lot of people see that as a big value addition to this, because I may or may not want to give. This is a big concern for a lot of us, right? Some Tom, Dick, or Harry, everybody that wants you to create a login, everybody wants you to create a login, first thing, and then everybody wants you to, when you want to create a login, they ask you for your name, your email, some of them your date of birth, and do I really want to give them all of my, I'm going to give it to Google, okay, I trust Google, okay, or Facebook, or Twitter, I'm going to use that for this. So really there's not a whole lot of, you can pretty much do whatever you can by creating a login yourself with these social logins. That's the whole premise here. There's no difference in terms of authentication or authorization, in terms of what you can actually do on the sites. It's just the same. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question about indexing a new site. Will it get indexed on its own eventually, or is there a way to ask Google to go ahead and index it?
There's really no way to ask Google to index it. They have major index cycles and minor index cycles. Major index cycle is once every 3 weeks. Once every 3 weeks, every single page, or public page, I mean, if I'm sure all of you know this, if a page is behind the firewall in a logged in area, Google doesn't index that. They only index all the public pages, right? So every 3 weeks is a major index cycle. So virtually every public page gets indexed, some way, shape, or form. As long as it's public, every 3 weeks.
Massive.
Yeah, and then in the world, right? All
Yeah.
those hundreds of billions of pages. And then they have minor indexing cycles too, which is every day. Every day they
A little piece.
piece of the web, but then you're guaranteed to be indexed every 3 weeks. That's their cycle.
Okay.
But there's no way to really ask them, or bribe them to.
It seems like 10 years ago or so, there was some way of telling Google, hi, I'm here, I'm new. And then they don't have to actually find you because you told them you exist, but I don't know how that even worked, or apparently it doesn't work anymore.
No.
It probably isn't even necessary anymore, just because everything
Yeah.
moves so quickly now.
Yeah.
You search one search item and it's like 48 bazillion
I
know,
search
it's
results.
amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And actually there's the other way around right now. There are tools, advanced tools that you can use to tell them not to index you.
Oh.
There's something called Google Disavow tool,
I
which
have-
we use.
I have one page that says no index on it.
Yeah, right. So let's say you're a work in progress, right? You're working on a website. You want
Right.
to tell Google that during that
Leave me
period.
alone, I'm not
Yeah, leave me
done.
alone, right, exactly. There are ways to do that, using especially that tool,
Yeah.
that Google Disavow tool, that's what it's called. But there's no ways that we know of
Hmm.
that you can tell them actually to index you more often
Can I
or.
tell them, hi, I'm here now?
No, exactly. Yeah, you can, that's called SEO.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
it's,
That's true.
and, you know, and then other marketing campaigns, programs.
Interesting.
All right, you ready to get into the simple stuff now? Now that we're through the complex stuff?
Actually, I'll leave now.
Yeah, you gotta head out.
Yeah, I gotta head out.
Thanks
Sorry,
for being
sorry,
here.
guys.
Really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
This is like the busiest guy I've ever met in my life.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't want to be, but, you know, I don't
You
have too
do,
much.
the way you make your money, right? The
Yeah.
busier you are.
It's good for business.
But yeah,
Busyness is.
I have some cards left here, not 20, but some.
No, it's the
Um,
$20 bill that I was asking.
Oh, $20 bill. Oh, yeah, okay, I see that now. So, yeah, please grab one if you don't already have. And good luck with whatever you're trying to do with sites.
Yeah, all right, see you
Talk to you
later.
later.
Thank you.
I kinda wonder if Andrew Jackson gave those out as his, here's my card.
Mhm.
Just, I don't know. I mean, I guess he was dead.
That would be
before.
no.
Yeah, fair enough.